So, grüezi miteinander. Es freut mich sehr, hier zu sein. Und ich hoffe, es geht Ihnen gut. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I hope everyone's doing well. So, I really can't believe that 1 year ago today, I was in the beginnings of my exchange. The year was faster than the blink of an eye, and I'm already back. I'd just like to start with a thank you, truly from the bottom of my heart, because without the support of this Rotary Club, this crazy, incredible, life-changing adventure I've had wouldn't have been possible. So thank you so much, Rotary Club of Mississauga West. It was truly an honor. Oh, sorry. And I'd also like to just give a special mention to Betty Jo because of her incredible dedication to the program. So now that I'm back, I'm just gonna move this down a little bit. Now that I'm back, everyone has been asking how my year was. And I still don't really have an answer to that question. Exchange was really the most unforgettable, unbelievable, best year of my life. And it's hard to summarize that in a few sentences. I hear from a lot of exchange students that exchange is the best, but also the most difficult year of their lives. They say that there are a lot of amazing high points, but many difficult low points as well. And if I'm to be completely honest with you, if I look back at my exchange year, I kind of have to laugh a little bit and say that this doesn't really apply to me. My exchange year was certainly the best year of my life, but I didn't really have any low points. I did face challenges, but these were small things that I just accepted as part of the journey. So my exchange year felt like a series of high points and incredible moments. As Betty Jo mentioned earlier, in February 2017, we had our country announcement day, and I thought I was going to go to Austria, and I was really pumped to go. But then I found out that I'd be going to Switzerland instead, and that just makes me think that the universe works in truly mysterious ways. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be able to be here today and stand here and talk to you about all of the incredible people I've met in Switzerland. And I'm sure I could have had an incredible time in Austria, but I wouldn't change my exchange year in Switzerland for anything. Now, before going to Switzerland, I did a bit of research. I was to be hosted by the Rotary Club of Aarau-Alpenzaicher, so I'd be staying in Aarau. And Aarau is the capital of my canton, which is like a province. And it's a really small town of around 20,000 people, but it's really charming, with cobblestone, winding streets, and old architecture. I felt every day as if I was walking in a fairy tale. I also lived in a nearby village called Oberentfelden with my third host family. So this village is a little more rural, and I got to experience life in a smaller village. It was really different being in a small town because everyone knew practically everyone, and there was no chance of going out with my host family and not bumping into people they knew. But I really enjoyed this connection with the community. Now, through my research, I found out that Switzerland is one of the top 10 happiest countries in the world. And during my exchange, I got to learn why. So, here are my findings. The first is a bit of an obvious one, but the abundance of good quality chocolate is no coincidence. I have to say, even their cheap chocolate is really, really good. So I've honestly never seen so much chocolate on store shelves before. Next. Everyone exercises a lot. So research shows that there's a relation between exercise and happiness, and people there exercise a lot. Gym is mandatory for all students up until they're done their high school years. And I can say during that year, I've biked and skied and hiked more than I have in my entire life. Good. The wonderful, punctual public transportation system. You can travel to any corner of Switzerland and be back within a day. And every corner is gorgeous. Furthermore, because this small country has a German, French, and Italian speaking parts, I can travel to Lausanne or Locarno and feel like I've gone to France or Italy for the day. This is a funny one, but when you sneeze, someone will always respond Gesundheit. In class, in school, practically the whole class will murmur Gesundheit. And at home, no matter where I am in the house, if someone can hear me sneeze, someone will always bellow back Gesundheit. I just find it such a lovely perk.
What does it mean?
It means
Good health.
good health, yeah. So it's like saying bless you. Now, Switzerland is a country with 4 official languages and roots in several different cultures. Switzerland is a country with 7 presidents and several political parties that are forced to work together. It may not always be easy to work together, but Switzerland shows that it's possible. I love this culture of cooperation, and I think that this could be a factor playing into their happiness. And lastly, people give a lot of hugs. Now, I was told that Swiss people could be a little reserved and cold, but as soon as I arrived, I was constantly bombarded with hugs and kisses on the cheeks, so I was pleasantly surprised, and I think that the world could use more hugs. Now, aside from learning about Switzerland, I learned a lot about myself, and I'm proud of the personal growth that I've been able to experience. One of the most important lessons to me was gratitude. So learning to appreciate everything, no matter how small. It could be the cup of tea made by my host mom in my favorite cup when I have a cold, or a beautiful sunrise, or a moment with friends laughing so hard my stomach hurts. I think exchange really emphasizes the fact that life is what you make it. During exchange, you only have 1 year, and it's really up to you to make the best out of it. There are going to be challenges and days that are worse than others, but by learning to appreciate what I have, no matter how small, I found myself a much happier person. And connected to this, I learned to not sweat the small stuff. Not sweating the small stuff means being okay when things don't go as planned and just making the best of a situation. An example of this was a crazy experience I had trying to get to a special event. So in Switzerland, they have a special celebration called Fastnacht, which is basically their version of Mardi Gras. And this includes a special lantern parade at 4 a.m. in the city of Basel. And I knew that I had to experience this. It only happened once a year, and everyone insisted that I go. So I heard about it in August and eagerly anticipated the event in February. So after getting the permission and encouragement of my host family, I made plans with some friends. And this meant I had to wake up around 2:30 a.m. to get ready, and bike to the train station, and take a special bus. There were no trains running that could take me. I went to bed early, anxious to get up on time, so I set up like 6 different alarms. I surprisingly got up on time. Everything was going smoothly. I got to the train station right on time, but as I was there, I realized that the regular entrance to the bus area was completely gated off. So I freaked out for like 25 seconds, trying to figure out what to do next. And then I ran back to my bike and biked as fast as I could to try to go around the station. And of course, I went the wrong way, so I had to backtrack. And as soon as I got there, I saw the bus take off. But I was still determined, sleep deprived, and a little insane. So I decided to try to bike like crazy to catch up to the bus. And I wish I could tell you that I caught up, but I didn't. And I was there completely alone around 3 a.m. And for a moment, I had no idea what to do. But I came to my senses after a minute and realized that I had no choice but to bike back home. I felt really defeated, but when I was back home, I realized that there was no use in staying upset because it already happened. I would miss the parade. But I decided that I would take the earliest train there and just enjoy what I could get out of it. So I did, and I'm really glad that I did because I did really enjoy it. No, it didn't go as planned, but at the end of the day, it was more important for me to enjoy the day rather than have my plans go smoothly. Another lesson for me was learning to be courageous. Exchange is an overload of new and sometimes scary experiences. But being forced to step out of my comfort zone, I feel like I've just grown so much more as a person. Because at the end of the experience, whether it went better or worse than imagined, I realized that I lived through it. At its best, I got an amazing experience that I wouldn't have otherwise had I not had the courage to try. And at its worst, I got a lesson to learn from or a funny story. So it's okay to be scared, but the most important thing was that I made it through. An example of this was swimming in gym class. Every week for one class, we'd have to swim. And you have to know that I'm a horrible swimmer. So when I first heard about this, thoughts of my terrible experiences as a 7-year-old in swim class came back to me. But then I told myself, no matter what, there's no getting out of this, so you may as well not stress and just try to enjoy it in any way possible. So after a year of countless hours at the pool, pushing myself to the limit and setting new personal records, I'm here to report that I'm still very bad at swimming. But it was fun being with my classmates, and every week at the end of the swim class, I felt really good. I felt empowered by the fact that I lived through each swimming session. And I felt ready to basically take anything on. And this is something I would have never chosen to do. So I found myself being okay with being out of my comfort zone. And this is something that I definitely want to keep on doing beyond my exchange. Because being willing to step out of my comfort zone during exchange led me to many cool experiences. The first among many things would be the Rotary Volunteer Weekend. My Rotary Club does a hands-on volunteer project every year as a club, and my year we went to a small Swiss village in the mountains to help repair their water system so that they could access the water from the mountains in their village. And it was really satisfying to work hard to help others. And I had the very Swiss experience of watching the sunset over the mountains while eating raclette, which is a very popular dish, and it's essentially just melted cheese, and being serenaded by accordions and a yodeling family. I was touched by the gratitude of the community members who prepared the special dinner and a large dessert buffet, which was really yummy. The next would have to be going skiing and attending ski school. This is a quintessential Swiss childhood experience. It was extremely fun and frankly, rather humbling. As you can see from the picture, my seniors in class were about half my size and age and could ski circles around me. But thanks to the help of my ski teacher, some extra lessons on the side from my host father, and the endless support from my host family, I wrapped up the ski season with finishing with an astonishing 4th place for our ski race.
Wow.
And for those who want to know, although I don't think it's very important, there were 5 people in the race. So around this time, I also had the opportunity to travel with my class. The girls in my class had organized a trip for a few days to see the Matterhorn in Zermatt, and they invited me to come along. I had a blast with my classmates. We all stayed over at the holiday house of one of my friends, and we cooked together and stayed up late playing cards and singing and dancing and talking. I also had the opportunity to volunteer with the Youth Red Cross. We organized games and activities for unaccompanied minor asylum seekers. So we've done activities such as cooking and playing cards and skating and theater. This was to encourage learning and interaction between Swiss people and the young asylum seekers. So the asylum seekers and other volunteers were always so friendly and open, and each time I went was truly a joy. It was actually also a really good opportunity for me to learn German alongside the asylum seekers. And at the end of my year, I had the incredible opportunity to go on Eurotour and spend 17 days traveling around big European cities with my fellow exchange students. We got to visit Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, Berlin, Dresden, Prague, Bratislava, Vienna, Budapest, and Venice. It was a crazy fun, jam-packed 17 days. Now with all of this, it sounds like I never went to school, but I can assure you I did. I went to the Alte Kantonsschule Aarau. So a Kantonsschule or gymnasium is like high school, but it's for students who want to go to university. So after their middle school, students can decide to do an apprenticeship, which many do, or they can go to Kantonsschule. So I remember the first time that I saw this picture, I immediately thought that I was extremely lucky to be going to school in a castle. I may sound like I'm over-exaggerating, but it really is a beautiful building. And fun fact, it's actually called the Einstein House, or Einstein Building, because Albert Einstein actually went to this school for a few years, which I think is pretty cool. So now I can brag about that. So school was a great experience for me. I'm actually also very surprised to say that I actually enjoyed going to school. I was very lucky to have an extremely open, friendly, and helpful class. In the Conti, you stick with the same class for almost all of your classes for all 4 years that you're there. So for some people, this can be bad news. But for me, I feel very lucky that I only had one class because I got to become very close with them as a result. So even at the beginning of the year, when my German was really, really bad, my classmates still made an effort to speak to me in High German. And even if I couldn't express fully what I wanted to say, we'd always just end up bursting into giggles. Now, something that was new to me was project weeks in school. So in autumn, my class volunteered with Swiss farmers in Oberville. This was truly a fun and heartwarming experience. I got to become closer with my classmates and even befriend Swiss farmers. And in spring, I had the opportunity to travel to Torino, Italy. So we expected sunny Italian weather, but it rained the whole time. However, we were actually lucky it rained because not many people get to experience that. We visited many museums, ate a lot of good food, and spent our free time wandering through the streets. I also got to know some really nice students from my school. It was, again, an incredibly fun and unforgettable experience. I traveled alongside my exchange friend here in the pictures. She's Japanese, and she went to the same school as me, and she can also speak English, but the entire trip, we only spoke German. And then I realized how cool that is. Before I left, I didn't know any German, and now I can connect with other German learners and German speakers. But my progress with the language is actually really difficult for me to see. German has so many rules and super long words and nitpicky grammar structures. And to add to the challenge, people prefer to speak Swiss German. And many people ask me how difficult it is to understand Swiss German. And in one word, difficult. At the beginning of my exchange year, I had my class project week, as I mentioned earlier. We were working with Swiss farmers who spoke the Bern dialect of Swiss German. And this dialect was one that my classmates even had trouble understanding. So when a message had to travel from the farmer to me, it looked a little bit like this. One message translated 3 times. But luckily, things got easier and I started to pick up on Swiss German. I also had the opportunity to achieve a B1 level language certification in German, and I'm hoping to continue learning German in university. Now, there were so many people who made my exchange amazing. This Rotary Club for sponsoring me, my Swiss Host Club for supporting and always welcoming me, my Swiss friends and classmates, exchange students, and of course, my host families. I was hosted by the Berkeley family, pictured on the bottom where I'm wearing my blazer. The Weber family is the one where we're skiing, and the Ras family, so in the top right corner, or sitting on the roof. And I feel so incredibly blessed to be hosted by and to have gotten to know these wonderful families. Whenever I'm with my host family and I'm introduced to someone new, the person will often ask how it's going with my host family, and I'll always say super, and my host family will always say, she has to say that. But I have never lied. I truly loved each of my host families. They've been so open, kind, generous, helpful, enthusiastic, and friendly. Some of my favorite moments during exchange were just exchanging jokes and laughing around the dinner table. I will never forget my welcome dinner on my second day there. I didn't understand any of the German, but I was incredibly touched that this group of complete strangers from halfway across the world were doing all of this, welcoming me, opening their homes, their hearts, for me. And what a priceless act of kindness and generosity. And to me, that is the magic of exchange. Youth exchange is an incredibly fun experience, but exchange also has an importance that we sometimes forget about. And as naive as it sounds, exchange is truly an opportunity to promote world peace. Exchange is an opportunity to see what makes us different and see what makes us the same. We learned that our differences are beautiful and that diversity is a strength. And perhaps more importantly, that we are never so different that we can't be friends. Exchange to me is a grand gesture of friendship and kindness across all boundaries. So once again, Swanell and I thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your support. We really couldn't thank you enough because none of this would have been possible without you. Swanell and I will forever treasure this amazing adventure we've had, and we really hope to pass the good deed forward. So thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You mostly hear that Switzerland is a very xenophobic country, but from your presentation, it doesn't seem so.
I personally didn't have any problems, but I would say, like, with what I've noticed with the refugees that were there, it is a little more divided in their society. So not necessarily that they were ostracized, but there seemed to be a clear division. But I would say that they did make a lot of efforts to integrate the refugees. So I think it depends who you speak to, but my experience was a positive one.
Amazing presentation. I just wanted to clarify, so the B1 was from the Delft test?
That was I'm not sure what it's called now. I think it's a different certification. But it was an opportunity that I got through Rotary. So I didn't have to organize it myself, but we just had the chance.
Okay, cool.
And I also,
Just a comment, I saw your last picture of the Matterhorn there.
Yeah.
Quite often when tourists go up there, they don't see the mountains. It's always in its own cloud. It's so high, it creates its own cloud.
Mm-hmm.
You're very fortunate to be able to see it.
Yeah, it's very true. I've heard that as well from my host families. Yeah. And I also would just like to present this Rotary Club with the flag from my Rotary Club in Switzerland.
Oh, great.
Got it?
Yep.
All right, Selwyn.
Yes.
By the way, I thought it was a great presentation.